Well, good morning, folks. Bernard here. Today I just want to talk to you about a setting I use on my K-1 Mark I. It's one of those buttons that's unique to the K-1 Mark I, to Pentax, actually, to all Pentax model. Going back, all the digital model probably have this green button. I know you heard of the green button, and maybe you think green button is not for you. Maybe it's something for a beginner or, someone who doesn't know how to use a, aperture and shutter speed, high ISO, in manual mode, basically. I shoot manual mode, I would say 99% of the time. I'm a landscape shooter. I also do some street photography, building, you name it. Portrait, occasionally portrait. I used to do a lot of wedding in the past. So the green button for me on this camera, in conjunction with manual mode, is very powerful. It saved me a lot of work, saved me a lot of thinking. So my workflow is pretty flawless when I use the green button. It's amazing. So let's dive in. I'll show you what menu I set my green button with, because there's multiple settings you can use to make it work for you. Either if you're a sport shooter, a wildlife shooter, portrait, wedding, landscaper. There's different settings for each of these style of shooting, and you can save these settings into your user custom user mode. 1 to 5 with the Pentax. So anyway, very powerful tool. Let's dive in, and you tell me at the end of this video. You can make a comment if you use the green button, in how you use it, and why is it such a special tool for Pentax to have, because only Pentax has this tool. And also, please subscribe to my channel. I'm almost halfway to 1,000, so I'm almost at 500. This is amazing. That's my goal, 500 subscriber. Yes. So anyway, let's dive into this, and we'll go into detail, a few detail. It's technical and not so technical. We'll try to keep it simple. Anyway, let's dive in. So the camera is on right now. It's on manual mode. So if the first setting you want to do, so let's go in the menu system. You want to go down to page 1, the camera system, exposure mode. When you click there, so mine is set to manual mode. Also my dial on the top is manual, so it's on manual mode. What I want to talk about is the program line. So that's an important piece of the puzzle here with the green button. So the program line, if you open it, you'll have multiple choice. You do have auto, you have normal, you also have, let's say you shoot action, so running people, wildlife, this is all good. If you're a landscaper and you like your landscape to be sharp, big depth of field, all the way to the infinity sharp, there's a setting there for you. If you shoot portrait and you want a blurry background with a shallow depth of field, there you have it there. And then you also have, and this is unique to Pentax, I don't think any other camera system gives you that option, the MTF. MTF basically is your lens setting. So it stands for modulation transfer function. I'm sure you heard of the famous MTF chart for every lens. Well, this is what it does. It will, your lens communicate to the camera and transfer the chart to your camera. So according to your setting, when you press the green button, if you have the MTF on, like I do most of the time, is the fact that I want the best out of this lens. I want the sharpest I want the contrast, I want the best out of it. That's what MTF is. If I set it here, depth of field, portrait, it will try to give me the shallowest depth of field I can get, blurry, depending on the distance from my subject and the lens I'm using. Right now I have the 2470 2.8, the FA, the star one of the newest one. So it communicates the MTF directly to it, but if I set it there, it was gonna give me a nice maybe 2.8 or f4, something like that. If I go here, then it will give me a f11 to f16. If I go here, it will probably give me a higher shutter speed. So I'm doing some bird or wildlife, or I'm doing some sport action, then it will probably run in a 2000 shutter speed area. And then you get the normal, which can be a mixed bag. Auto is a totally mixed bag. It will vary from shot to shot, which is not what you want when you do, let's say, a wedding and you want to keep things pretty much the same setting throughout your shoot here. So I'm using the MTF, and I'm using this in manual mode. So that's one setting. So this way, when I, let's say, take my green button, here we go. So if I press the green button, the suggestion here is the f4, 50th of a second, and I nail my exposure right at 0. And maybe I don't need that, maybe I don't want that, maybe I need to give it more ISO. So I can go 400, press the green button again, and now I'm at 60th of a second, which is probably better as far as, holding a camera. But this camera has also a image stabilizer inside the camera, so I'm not really worried about blurry image. And at f4, this is the ultimate sharpness of this lens at this focal length. So let's go back to the green button story here. So if I go back in the menu and I turn to page 5 of my menu, and I go down to button customization, and I click OK, and then I go down to E-dial programming. So the E-dial is these dial at the back and the one at the front. So those are my E-dial. And as you notice, there you have it in every mode. And there's 3 pages here. So if you go to page 2 of the C-dial, you go down to manual mode. Manual mode, I have the front dial that looks after my shutter speed, and the back dial, AV, looks after my aperture. And I'm right in P-line. So P-line is basically program line. It tells me, and if I open this menu, it tells me that it's reading my exposure mode that I set up in the first place, which was MTF. I can change this. I can change this to anything I want. The beauty with this is that we do have other options here. Let's say you are a bird. You like taking picture of wildlife, and you know you need a fast shutter speed, and you don't want your shutter speed to be moving all the time from shot to shot when you press the green button. So in this case, you would go and shift the aperture only. So the camera will respect the shutter speed that you set up, let's say at 2000 of a second, and it will only shift the shutter speed. You say, yeah, but Bernard, I can do that with shutter priority. Yes, you can. But your exposure will change from shoot to shoot. It will give you a different aperture. It will give you a different shutter speed depending on the light. So in this case, you keep your light, you keep your shutter speed at 2000, and off you go. So let me pick this one instead. All right. So instead of reading my program mode, it will shift. So I'm at 60th of a second. If I press the button here, let's say I go down, I go up to 1600 and I press the green button. See, only the F8 moved. The shutter speed didn't move. So if I go down to 100, we'll see again. This number will go down, 2.8. And I'm still underexposed, so I don't have an actual. So this is how powerful this button is. According to your setting, I'll go back because I don't want to leave it on AV shift. I want to leave it on program line. I want my program line to be what I picked, MTF. So let's go there, go there, go there, P line, OK, then I press OK, 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 menu button, back, halfway press. So now when I press the green button, I'm back to 1/15 f4 because I asked the camera to give me the best contrast, shutter speed, contrast and sharpness of this lens. And this is what it gives me. So in every situation, when I press this, it will change accordingly. So let's go back to this menu again, just to show you how powerful this is, and you'll see it for yourself without taking any picture. I can tell you right now that if I go, okay, shallow depth of field, okay, so I want to take a portrait, I want to set it there. So I go yes, set it there. And remember my shutter speed originally was 1/15 and this was f4. Now if I press the green button, look what happened, 2.8. Because I want a shallow depth of field. 2.8, 1/30th of a second. If I go back to my menu, I go back down here, enter, enter, and now I want everything to be sharp. From the front of the lens to my background, all the way as far as I can see. I want this to be sharp. So if I press this, yeah, see now it's working. Now it gives me the 250th of a second, the fastest I can get right now in this house inside. But if I show this, if I turn this toward the outside, you'll see the difference. Anyway, folks, let's revise this because I don't want this. I want my MTF there. Boom. Halfway press. If I want 100th of a second, there we go. I'm back to f4 shutter speed, 1/15th of a second. So that's it. That's what I wanted to show you today. The green button is very practical for me. The workflow is easier this way. For me, it's like no-brainer. I just press my green button. So when you press the green button, remember that the program line I set up, the MTF, the camera give me an exposure of what it thinks it should be. And then because I changed my setting in manual mode, I can adjust my E dial, and this is me adjusting, open the aperture or close it, same with the shutter speed. Then I can make micro adjustment there. It's quick because I can, if the light changes, let's say I'm doing a landscape, I don't need to think twice. I just hit the green button and it will go revert back to, an actual correct exposure. I've done wedding in the past in aperture priority, and I don't know how many times I forgot to turn it to manual mode, and I ruined a lot of shot that way. I kept, it's a lot of fiddling, and sometimes you don't have time to do all this fiddling. So the green button, one button you press, it's not a magic button. It lets the camera work with you. Basically, it's a relationship, right? You let the camera think first, say what the camera has to say. So, you know, give me the accurate exposure. And then you got the E-dial to modified to let go your creativity. You want a more shadow depth of field, or you want everything sharp, or you want to slow the motion, and you know, whatever. That's the power of a camera system that is made for photographer. And I think Pentax, if you learn your system, Pentax is one of the top brand out there that offer this flexibility in automatic manual mode. It's kind of a manual hybrid mode, I would call it. So the green button, basically, it's a lifesaver when you're not sure what, and you're fiddling with your E-dial, more aperture, more open. Sometimes you don't have time. You just press the green button, boom, you're there. That's it. So tell me if you like this video. Tell me if you do use the green button. If you're going to use the green button from now on, tell me if you're going to make some tests. Share the result. Share the result with me. And please, thumbs up. Subscribe. I'm almost at 500. That's all I'll be happy at 500. Maybe then I'll shoot for 1,000. But anyway, till next time, folks, keep shooting.